Dear friends, one of the greatest problems faced by us today is loneliness. Not only the sick, the weak, and the senior citizens face it, but also the young, the educated, and the affluent. Many times, the impact of loneliness is such that they may go into depression. Father Gregory Dsouza, OCD, addresses this problem from social, biblical, theological, and spiritual point of view in his latest book, Sounding Silence. Father Gregory Dsouza is a retired professor of philosophy from the University of Mysore. He has 2 doctorates, namely in philosophy and theology, and teaching experience of more than 40 years in India and abroad. He had been also a PhD research guide at the University of Mysore. He has written several articles and the following 14 books: Theresian Mysticism and Yoga, Spiritual Doctrine of John of the Cross, Transforming Flame, Interculturality of Philosophy and Religion, The New Man in St. John of the Cross, Discernment in Prayer, Contemplative Formation, Mystical Wisdom, Spiritual Doctrine of St. John of the Cross, a revised edition, Climbing the Mountain of the Lord, Through Darkness to Light, Love Stronger Than Death, and Sounding Silence. Today we have requested Dr. Dsouza to speak to us about the content of the last book, Sounding Silence.
My dear friends, I would like to speak about a new book which was released just 3 days ago. The name of the book is Sounding Silence. This book deals with the practice of the presence of God. This is the 14th book by the author, which is myself. One of the greatest problems we face today is the problem of loneliness. This was felt even by Adam, our father, and felt by most of the people. In order to overcome this problem, we try to adopt many means. Our social life, life in marriage, family life, community life, all are meant to overcome this problem of loneliness. To some extent, these means help us to overcome it. But then, all the same, in spite of these means, we experience a certain kind of loneliness in our heart. Though there are many means, day by day, they are increasing to overcome this loneliness. All the same, that loneliness is felt in us, so much so. In Mangalore, where there was only one house of senior citizens years ago, today there are many houses. Our heart is created for God. Unless it lives in the presence of God, we will definitely feel that loneliness. God alone can ultimately take our problem of loneliness. It's therefore necessary, while adopting other means to overcome this problem, we need to live in the presence of God. That's my contention. But in order to live in the presence of God, we must not live in sin. Sin and grace cannot coexist. God lives with us, in us. God is present everywhere. We call it omnipresence of God. God is present in the state of grace as our Father. And God reveals Himself in different ways as our shepherd, and above all in Jesus Christ. In the Old Testament, there was what you call Shekinah. And His Shekinah was revealed as glorious, on Mount Tabor, on Mount Sinai, Mount Carmel, etc. This picture is taken from Mount Horeb, where the Lord appeared to Prophet Elijah in a sheer sounding silence. This practice of presence of God helps us very much to practice prayer and contemplation. When we live in the presence of God, we do not and cannot commit sin. Presence of God and sin do not coexist. As we grow in the presence of God, we also grow in our innocence. Whatever we may have, however we will be, however is our source for resourcefulness, those things cannot give us happiness and contentment and peace as the presence of God gives us. My appeal to my friends, to the readers is just have a glance at this book, scan through this book, and you will definitely benefit from it. In your personal life, in your family life, in your social life, above all, in your prayer life and contemplation, and you will enjoy the presence of God. The cost of this book is rupees 150 only. May the Lord help us all to always live in the presence of God, because the Lord himself says to Moses, "Walk before me and be holy." And when the Lord was promised to come, his name was to be Emmanuel, God with us. He became our shepherd. Shepherd means to be with us. God is always with us in Jesus Christ, in the Blessed Sacrament, in the Holy Spirit, in the church, above all, in our neighbor. May we be enabled to see his presence and live in his presence, and give us that peace and serenity of life to overcome the problem of loneliness. Thank you very much.